Well, I am Brother Price, preacher at Cross Creek Church of Christ here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I also am a cooking wizard. I have a cooking show called um, Child Time with Shelton, and I also have a Wednesday morning meditation. And outside of that, my wife will tell you that I'm a very serious person sometimes. And sometimes people will look at me and say, okay, well, he does look like a serious person. But really, once you get to know me, I'm just as gentle as can be. And that's just who I am. That's just who I am.
Well, what I can say is that God definitely knew what he was doing when he put us together, y'all. That's what I'm going to say first of all. Because he's the gentle one in the family. He is. He's got the biggest heart. Me, on the other hand, I'm a little more verbal than him. But you know what? We complement each other. And that's what we supposed to do. So when I say God definitely put us together, those who really know us know what I mean by that. And I'm Roz. Sister Price, you can call me Roz. I always tell everybody, just call me Roz. And I'm just a child of God. That's all I am. Only thing I'm trying to do is plant seeds. I constantly like to plant seeds. And as you see, I have a talk show that I do called Real Talk Now. Okay. And on that talk show, it's just a discussion. When I say discussion, it's also a a forum in which my guests are on the other side. Okay, it's a testimonial forum in which they tell the things they've been through, but not just tell the things they've been through. The most important thing, they tell how God brought them through those things. So my guests are on the other side. Okay, and I'm just trying to help my husband. Just trying to help my husband spread the word of God. That's it. I'm simple. I'm simple.
Beautiful, beautiful how the Lord has brought you two together. So tell us, how did you meet?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
he
I
always
will.
liked that one. He always
Yeah, I
liked to tell
always
that
like this
story.
one. Well, the truth is that we met. I was at the VA hospital. I was in a rehab program. I was in a rehab program, and I always prayed and I asked God to send me the person He would want me to have. That not who I wanted, but who He wanted me to have. And I would pray that prayer every night. Lord, send me the person that you would want me to have, that will put up with me because I'm not an easy person to deal with, and let me know when I see that person. And I never forget, I went downstairs to the cafeteria at the VA hospital. I saw this young lady standing up against the wall eating ice cream. And my that feeling came and said, there she is. Now I had to think about how was I going to meet this woman, because I'm kind of shy in a sense in the beginning. So it's like, okay, how am I going to meet her? What am I going to walk up to her and say? And eventually, when it was time for me to leave the VA, I would go downstairs to the cafeteria every single day at 12 o'clock, because that's the day I saw her, thinking she was going to come back at that time, but she never came back, never came back. And the last day I was there, I saw her. She turned the corner and I just asked her for her number, and she gave me her work number. And it was from then on, I just called her all the time, 3 times a day. And that's how it happened.
Now he failed to leave. He left out something. He usually don't leave out this part. Do you notice he said work number, y'all? Okay. Because I was like, you know how we do. You don't want to be mean, but I tried to play it off a little bit. Let me give him a work number. And actually, I didn't think he was going to call. I really didn't. I thought that was it. Yeah, I gave him the number. He going about his business. This man was so persistent, so very persistent. At first, I played him off. He would call, and I'm like, tell him I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm not here. One day, I decided. I said, you know what? Let me talk to this man. And our conversation was so deep. I mean, on a level that was so deep. I'm not a phone person. we would stay on the phone for hours talking, and I mean, we just connected. And I know it was God because I never felt that connection with anybody before. And I had told him one time, I said, you know what, I'm in the awe. I'm in tears because I wasn't looking for anyone. I had stopped, and I was a single mom at the time. I left that out. So I was very protective because I had my daughter to think about, and when we met, it was just like, from then on, we still have that connection. He get on the nerves, y'all. I get on his nerves. Yes, he do. But that connection, we have a common thing, and that's Christ. Did we have problems? Yeah, we've had problems. Was divorce ever on the table? Yes, real talk, it was. But we never could do that because it was never a comfort level there. Because God, if you and I tell you, I can't. I don't know if you're young people or what, but whoever is up here, if you're gonna make a decision, and if God don't give you a peace about it, don't do it. Please don't do it. Because if He did not give you the peace about it, that's not the decision you should make. And I'm so glad I did not make that decision. Because this man right here, this man right here, girls, I'm telling you, like I said, he was tailor made for me. To all my extra. He's the only one who's going to take that. So.
Well, it takes, to be honest, it took a while. It took a while for me to get used to that. I came out of I was raised, I never had that father figure. So I didn't know how to treat a wife. I didn't know what that entailed. So when we got married, I did what I thought a man was supposed to do. And I made a lot of mistakes. I made a whole lot of mistakes. We talked about divorce, but the thing that stopped us from the divorce was, well, if you want a divorce, you file. And I would always say, well, I don't have the money. And then we went back and forth with that. Well, I'm not going to do it because I don't have the money to do it. And that just was a way to let us know that divorce was not something that was in our whole makeup of this relationship. And so it was a process. I got to know her. It's easy when you're dating and talking on the phone, but when you get under the same roof, then you see each other for who they really are, you see. And once we got under the same roof, it was like, okay, if I take my slippers off, that's where they're gonna stay. She may not, you need to pick up your slippers. You need to pick up this, and we just said, it's not what is called settling, but we just, okay, this is how he is.
We're two adults. We realized we were two adults.
Right. So we didn't make that a big deal. As she said before, yep, she get on my nerves. Sometimes I'll get on her nerves. She get on my nerves, I go upstairs and go in my office. I get on her nerves, she go in the front room and do her thing. But we always come back together and talk about things, and we never leave problems undone. Now, we may go away and then come back later and talk about it. I had to learn how to do that myself, because when you talk about it at the wrong time, it can get real explosive. So sometimes you got to walk away and then come back and talk about that situation to get it rectified. But we kind of, like Forrest Gump say, we just like peas and carrots. That's just how we are, and God has blessed us to able to raise 2 children despite of the shortcomings. And despite of actually my shortcomings, He has allowed us to raise 2 wonderful children, and He has brought me in full circle into the ministry, which this is the place He wants me to be at. And so it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Amen. I'm over here taking notes. I just want to stamp for everyone. If God doesn't give you peace about it, don't do it. I love that. Ladies and one gentleman that is on here, have you ever been in that situation where you were dating someone and you had no peace and you kept going? Or you were trying to hop out of something and the Lord was telling you, don't be trying to hop out of this. Yeah. Okay. So, brother and sister Price, thank you for your transparency. Y'all have come out of the gate being transparent and we love it. We love it. Okay. So, how did you know that your spouse was the one to marry and spend the rest of your life with?
Whoa, that's a good one. Okay. Now he tells you when he first saw me, he said, now that's his version, okay, that I was going to be his wife. And when he said, I was like, boy, you better get out my face. You know, that's not how I saw it. Because like I said, I was at a point that I was not going to settle. I was working on Roz and I had basically stopped. You know, I said, God, I'm through. I got to wait for you to bring me that person. So I stopped. So when I did meet him, like I said, I was like, okay, whatever. But when we connect, I have never connected and had a comfort level ever, male or female. You get what I mean? With anybody like I did with him. And I knew that was the person for me because I'm not easy. I'm not, I'm not easy, you know. And then too, I'm gonna go on and tell him because I tell him this all the time. The man, you know how you say you have your man of your dreams and the man of your prayers? Okay, that man of your dreams, usually that's a phantom. But that man of your prayers, that's the one you should be looking for. He checked the boxes. He checked the boxes. I'm tall. I'm a tall girl. I'm almost 6 feet tall. My husband is just the opposite. So, you know, I was always into that tall male. My husband is what, 5'8.5", something?
5'8".
5'8". So you know it's a difference there, right? And for me to like, I don't care how tall he is, I'm crazy about this man. So those things like that, it did not make a difference. His background, I didn't care what nobody said because God told me, y'all gonna marry, y'all, you may go through some stuff now, but this is where you need to be. And I had such a peace about it. So Shelton Price. I'm sorry, I call him Shelton Price, y'all. So you're gonna
yeah, that's what she told me. But she did because at the time we was going through our stuff, we was going through things. Her friends would tell her, "You need to leave him. You need to, I wouldn't put up with this. I wouldn't put up with that." But in her spirit, God told her to, "You need to stay because I'm gonna pull him through this, and what I'm gonna turn him into afterwards, you will be well pleased." And a lot of her friends got mad at her, you know, was upset because she wouldn't do that. And when we look at it today, we
love
look
him to
at
death.
yeah, we look at it today, and some of her friends who told her to leave me, well, they have problems today, you see. And so she just stuck with her gut, you know, because she was God-fearing and she listened to what the Lord was telling her. You know, lessons came after that. And my thing is, if God is telling you to don't go nowhere, then you stay no matter how bad you may think the situation is. You stay because once that storm over with, the first 7 years of our marriage was just like a roller coaster. It was like a roller coaster. Like we was going on up and down a roller coaster, going around in circles, all of that. But then from year 8 to year
22,
it's been like, it's you know how they said the second time around is better than the first. It's been much better. This from year 8 to 22, it's been something that we both can't ask for. So just think about, have we just say, okay, that in between that first 7 years, I'm going my way, you going your way. It's no telling what she would be is no telling what I would be. But because of God and because of him being the glue in our relationship, we're right here today to be able to tell, share with other people that marriage is it's a tough job. It's not easy. It's a tough job. And another thing I wanted to say is that, yeah, we talked a lot. I think we the only people, she sent me a calling card one time with so many hours on it. We used that calling card in one day. It had a number of hours. You know how a calling card have so many hours on it. And we sat and talked that evening. I think I called her about 5 o'clock. We talked until about 4 in the morning. And after we finished talking, the calling card was expired. And then another thing, I went over to her house and I cooked. And the first thing when I fried that fish and made them homemade egg rolls, she got on the phone and called her mama and said to her mama, "Mama, guess what? He know how to cook." And so that was another thing that got me in there. You know how they say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? Well, this worked the opposite way. Because once she found out I can cook, that was like, oh, now I got a man that he can cook too. And so it was like, hey, it was nothing better.
Yeah. Now, one thing he said, I just want to clarify. When he said that those friends are not good now, they're good with our relationship. They realized, what we were trying to go through back then. When he said they're not good, their relationships unfortunately did not survive. That's what he mean by not being good. And
Yeah,
most of them are divorced now.
My Lord, that's that listening to the Lord. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to reiterate something that was said. The man of your dreams versus the man of your prayers. That right there is mighty powerful. That is mighty powerful. So we just want to hear, Brother and Sister Price, you came out the gate with that transparency. So if you could go into detail a little bit more about some of the struggles that you were going through early on in marriage, and what were the prayers like to get through that? How did you get through that?
I want to start this question, Shelton Price, because I know he's quiet, y'all, but you see on some things he'll go on and on. So I'm gonna have to come on curtail this one a little bit, make it a little shorter. So first of all, when he said rehab, I don't know if y'all understand when he said rehab, he's talking drug rehab. Okay, I just want y'all to meditate on that one first of all. So which means that's another thing that we have to, even though we may be private people, certain things God has told us we need to get out, to tell our story to young people, young married couples. I mean, this is what you need to hear. He was in drug rehab. I am a professional, quote unquote, woman at the time. I'm retired now, y'all. It's a good thing. But anyway, a professional woman, a therapist, okay? And that's not to be arrogant. I'm just trying to set the scene there. For this man to come up to me, y'all know, the first thing you're going to say when you're at a certain status, who is he? Who is this? You know what I mean? None of that happened like that. Even though I said I was leery about my number, it had nothing to do with him. It was where I was at the time. You know what I'm saying? Where my mental space was. God, we got married, first of all, what, 4 months? 4 months. We knew each other 4 months.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, 4 months.
Yes, 4 months we got married. For me to do that, that says a lot right there. And he was still in rehab when we got married.
Getting ready to get out.
Yeah, that type of, I need y'all to hear that. For God to speak like that and say, I know what you think it looks like, but this is what I need you to do. This is what you need to do. And for 22 years later, over 22 years later, well, actually 23 together, but anyway, for us to still be together, and still have that same passion and that same love. Maybe not like some days, but still that love for each other. That's powerful. That's some powerful stuff.
The vision one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's right about that. I was just, when we got married, I was just getting out of rehab, and we got a house built from the ground up, and everything was going well, but I didn't know how to cope with certain situations. As she said, she was a professional woman. Here we got married. I didn't even have a job in this, you can say I didn't even have a real job. And so me as a man married to a professional woman without a job, I didn't know how to cope with that. So the only thing I knew to do to cope was to go use. And there was times when I would tell her, I'm going to the store and get some milk, I'll be back. 3 days later. I'm coming back 3 days later. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going a whole week. But she had to continue because my son was born. We had her daughter, and she had to continue to raise 2 kids. And so her thing was, after it got real bad and I was out in the streets, she just turned me over to God. She just said, her prayer was, Lord, look, I got 2 kids to raise. I got a husband who's out there. I'm turning him over to you because I can't concentrate on him and provide for these 2 kids. So she just turned me over to God at that time. And while I was out there doing drugs, robbing, stealing, and all this kind of stuff, for about 3 years, we was separated for 3 years, about 3 years. And then finally, God stepped in and put me in a place where I had to be still. Sometimes God, you have to be still so you can hear what he says, so you can allow him to fix you. And what he did was, I went to jail. And in that instance, when I was in jail, I didn't have nothing else to do but to get back to studying his word and doing those kind of things and letting him just fix me. And she started to notice the difference in my conversation. Because usually I would call every day to talk to my son because I didn't want him to feel like I just had left him. So every night I would call, I would speak to him and for a few minutes. But see, me and her didn't talk because she wasn't trying to hit at, oh, baby, I'm sorry, let me come home, that kind of thing. But as time went on, she started to hear my voice that God was changing me. And at the time I got out of jail, it was time for me to come to Fayetteville. And she said, okay, you could come home. But the minute you start that mess, you got to go. And right then, I came back. God brought us back together, and it's been a good thing ever since. You see, so sometimes you have to, when things get tough, you may have to split up so God can, because see, he had to work on her too to get her ready for the reunion, just like he had to work on me. But he couldn't work on us while we was under the same roof. So he allowed me to be on this side of the fence. She was on that side of the fence. He worked on her, he worked on me. And when it was time for us to come back together, it was just all brand new. It was just brand new.
One thing that I want you all to meditate on too, is that, like he said, we had to be separated, because I kept staying at first, like he can't get well without me. You know how that codependency, you think you can save someone, you can't. So I had to literally quit my job, sell our house at a moment's notice, and move back home with my mom to Virginia. We was in Texas, and I moved back home You know how hard that was? That was some hard, but I had to, because I knew as long as we were in a close, he had contact, those mental gains were he gonna keep. I don't know if you all know anything about addiction, but sometimes you can be manipulative when you're under any kind of addiction, not just drugs. You can have a manipulative personality that stems from the addiction. So I knew as long as we were under the same area, close proximity, he was going to continue to try. But once I left, he got better. And actually, we ended up moving to North Carolina. God blessed me with a better job. Look at that. Even better than what I had making. And it's not about the money, but I mean, better job, more responsibility, easier job, more money, better house. Okay, and I'm just saying this, and it's not about stuff. I'm just saying, when God say, I need you to do this, there's rewards. There are good consequences that come with it. It's not just, I get excited when we talk about our story, y'all. I'm sorry, but there's just obedience it's a beautiful thing.
Amen. You all, thank you so much for this kind of transparency, because so often we look at couples that have been together for 22 years like you have, that are working in ministry, and our assumption is they've never been through anything. They don't know what struggles I could go through. And to know that God is such a healer, not only did he heal the marriage, but he healed the individuals that were in the marriage. God is just so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Your story is a testament to God can walk you through anything. Continue to hold his hand.
Yes.
So powerful. So powerful. Okay, so tell us, how has the kingdom, who was the church to you during this time? Who was the kingdom of God to you through all of these different phases that you went through in your marriage? How has the kingdom blessed your marriage?
Well, he was in the body first, and he actually introduced me. But y'all, when I was just usually it's the man. A lot of times it's the man who do it because go to church because the woman is invited. It was just the opposite. I did. He was already there, and I was like, okay, yeah, I do that. I was doing it. I didn't have. I'm gonna be honest. My understanding was not there then. I did not understand the depth of my walk. I didn't understand the depth of my responsibility then, and I'm going to say something else, because when I was baptized, and some may disagree with what I'm getting ready to say, when I was baptized initially, it was just something I did. I'm going to be honest. I went back through. I was rebaptized, if you want to say it, or I'm not going to say rebaptized. I was baptized, because the first time I considered that was just an act that I did. But when I did it the next time, I was all in, because I understood completely. And my thing is, my goal is just planting seeds. That's either with him, but it's also by myself too. Because even though we're a couple, we're also individuals, and we have our own walk with God. God is telling us separate things to do as well, that I have to also be obedient to. So I'm just trying to plant seeds, and the kingdom is everything to me.
Well, at that time for me, as she said, I had already been baptized. In Dallas, Texas, where I was baptized, they had this thing called Crusade for Christ. And one of my coworkers kept trying to convince me to come. You need to come, you need to come. And so one day I went, I got baptized. But I didn't really, the thing about after I got baptized, nobody grabbed my hand to walk with me through the struggle. See, they just like, okay, you baptized, that was it. and left me by myself. Nobody took my hand and said, okay, listen, now Satan is going to come tempt you even more so
Mm.
because now he lost a soldier. So I faced those temptations by myself. When I went to the church for help, they didn't know how to help me because they wasn't used to a person on drugs. They wasn't used to a person like me. And so they didn't know what to do. And so in knowing not what to do, they just kind of left me alone. And in that, I started to straddle the fence. You see, and it was like, okay, you either got to have one foot in, one foot out. There's no way I can go to church on Sunday and then be doing drugs Monday, Tuesday, the rest of the week. And so when it got so bad for me, and people at the church was trying to help me, but I was just misusing the help. And then it got to a point where I just had to go. I just had to go out because I couldn't keep going out, coming in, going out, coming in, because that was being hypocritical. And so I just had to just, okay, you know what? I got to stay out because I'm hurting those who are listening to me, and then turn right around and go back out and get back into sin, into, doing drugs and that kind of thing. So I just stayed out. I stayed out. And then it was just, just one day I was walking downtown and I would get angry because I would see other churches coming to feed people, but I would never see a Church of Christ coming to feed somebody. And so I got angry. I was like, church ain't trying to come down here and see about me. But I got angry and kind of just turned my back. And I just stayed out there until it just got so bad. When you're sleeping in the alley, when you go to sleep in the alley, anybody could come crush your skull walking through the alley in the middle of the night. You see, sleeping in the alley, standing on the corner asking for money, stealing, and just, literally eating out the trash can. People say dumpster style. So you're looking at somebody who God has, taken, and still, when it was all said and done, I never forget, I just fell on my knees in the alley and I asked God that it's time to take me away from this. And he knows when you're serious. See, sometimes we can say, oh Lord, just if I do this, I promise if you just get me through this, I won't do it again. And then we turn around and do it again. Well, I believe he knew I was real serious at that point. And as soon as I said that, a friend of mine, his name is Tim, he came through the alley and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm tired of it. He said, come on, we go on to rehab. And I went to another rehab in Fort Worth that started my journey to get better. And we left, went to rehab, and that's how I started. You see, and yep, did I fall in between those things? Yes, I did. But as I said before, when I was locked up, and God just took and just transformed, and people started seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself when I was locked up. I started to do Bible studies when the church wouldn't come, and they elected me to do the Bible studies for them when they didn't come. And so now my wife get on me all the time. She said, okay, you need to take a break. You need to take a break because, the church, I owe God so much.
That's what he does, y'all. When he talks about his testimony, that's the tears. And those are good tears. Good tears, because he had brought them so far.
I owe him so much till I can't turn my back on. I can't stop. You know, and even though my wife said, you need to take a break, and I'm like, I can't. You know, even during this COVID thing, you know, me, her, and my son, we said, okay, we're not gonna close the church down. We're gonna be there no matter what. And we was always here. You know, it can be just me, her, and my son in here. And thanks to Facebook Live and doing our streaming on Facebook, but it's just God made. He means so much to me till I can't stop. I can't, even when I think about doing something crazy, it leaves my mind because he has brought me so far.
Yeah.
And I think if people would just, you know, God may not have brought you as far as he has brought me, but when he has brought you from just A to B, we should be thankful.
Amen.
And there's nothing that's gonna make me stop spreading the gospel. It's nothing that's gonna take me away from doing what God has instilled in me to do, because I owe him. I owe him. So many of my friends died in the field. So many of my friends died from overdoses. And throughout all of that, that could have just as well been me. But for some reason, he said, not you. Not you. I got something better for you. And this is where it is. And so,
And
with that,
medically being in
and
his right frame of mind, not having all these conditions that's related to addiction. You know, all those things. I mean, we getting older, y'all. We old heads, like I always tell people. You know, so we got some stuff going on, but it's not a result of the drug addiction, if that makes
and
sense.
yeah, and sometimes when I tell people this story, they look at me and say, man, stop playing. You want, because they look at me now. And it's just like when God brings you through the fire, when you come out on the other side, we always say, you look like new money. And so when he brought me through the fire, when I came out on the other side, it was like, you know, wow, how is this possible? Well, God has made it possible. And me and my wife, our family, you know, we love each other dearly. We get on each other's nerves, but that's just all a part of it, you know. And
Marriage, that's his marriage.
That's just marriage, and we've learned how to cope with each other.
Yeah.
She got some ways I don't like, I got some ways she don't like. But it's not enough to get us into an argument and say, I'm packing my clothes and leaving. You see, sometimes people can, I just go ahead and say it. My wife loved to smack gum, pop gum, or whatever you call it. That's something she loves to do. And I could be upstairs in my office and could hear her upstairs. But, you know, for me to go down there and say, okay, you need to stop this. You need to, you know, that's getting on my nerves. I could say that, but is it gonna stop? I doubt it. Because when she gets comfortable, that's what happens when she's chewing gum. So I have learned to deal with that. So when she popping gum, I just like turn the TV up loud, so I won't hear it.
Yeah, everybody stop telling my business. Everybody didn't know I did it. See, that's my personal thing. See that? Y'all see that? That's what I'm talking about. That is a comfort level for me. When I'm doing that, I'm in my zone. I'm in the zone. Then girl pops.
Yeah.
So anyway, let her continue her questions.
Okay.
Because we can talk all day, y'all, but I want Kimberly to finish her questions. Shelton Price.
You all are actually you are answering our questions already. So the next question is, how has your marriage blessed the kingdom?
This is an example of it right here. How we have to, like I said, believe it or not, even with the talk show I have and the stuff we do, we are very private. I know that sounds crazy because we're saying all this stuff, but we still are very private people. But this is a testimony that we have to tell. We don't have no choice. So this is one way that we're blessing young couples, potentials, to let people know that marriage is the hardest thing that you will ever do, period. And that's because you have two adults trying to coexist together. You can't control each other because you have your own mind. But if you put Christ in the forefront of it, he can get you through. And once you go through certain, these massive things like this, I think you said it, Kimberly, when you go through these massive things like this, the other stuff may not be easy, but you know, you don't forget your journey. Because if you don't forget that journey, then you know I can look back and like, okay, hold on. He got me through, he got us through this. So we just need to focus again, just refocus. So sometimes we got to do that. Refocus again and sit still and let him bring us through it and not us. So to me, that's how he's blessing us, by telling our test. That's how we're blessing the kingdom, by telling our testimony.
And people see us together and they like, you know what? They belong together. People see us, they see us and they see the bond. They see the how we care for each other. They just see it, and they look at us and like, you know what? See those two? It's just one of those things that, you know, they can see the light in both of us, and they see how it has kept us together. Even our friends from even back in the days, they see that and they look at it and they're like, wow, you know, God has really is holding them together. They see how God is blessing us. And sometimes they don't understand that. They don't understand how God is blessing them when, you know, when I didn't really have a real good job, God was still blessing us. And people who knew us didn't understand that. Our son went to a private school. People couldn't understand, how is he going to a private school when your husband working at the church, driving the school bus for the daycare? How is that happening? They just, for some reason, they couldn't see how God was blessing us. And God was blessing us because he knew that we trusted him so much so that we had no worries about anything.
I don't know, I'm gonna say anything, but
I mean, well, you know.
Not most, not that stuff that most people worry about, finances. And one thing we do too, blessedly we do, we've always, well, I ain't gonna say always, God did bless us with a nice, comfortable income over time. You know what I mean? And what we do too, we live under our means. And I think a few of y'all can understand. We could have these, and I'm not saying, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, because that's not the intent. We can have this huge, beautiful home, which is a great thing. It's beautiful. We can have these top of the line luxury cars, which is beautiful. We get just enough. We have a nice home, we have nice cars, but they're typical cars. They're not the luxury or whatever. So we always make sure, even though we have the money, we live below our means, because we choose to do other things. Well, we choose to put it aside. We chose to put the kids through, school, those things like that. We chose to do those things as opposed to putting it into stuff that goes. Because I'm cheap. I'm the cheap one. He the one like to spend more money. I'm cheap,
She the cheap one, and I'm the one who likes to spend within my means. Mm-hmm. We are content with what God has blessed us with, and we don't want to step out of that. God has blessed us with, as my wife said, we got a nice home, we got nice cars, but we are content. And when we step outside of the contentment that God has put us in, then we get into that that thing of being prideful. That's the right word to say. If God has blessed us with where he wants us to be, if we want to step out and go far above that, then we're stepping out of where he wants us. And then that puts us where we have to do things that will take us away from serving God. You see, where we are now, we can serve God. We can, without any, where we are right now. We good where we are right now, which allows us to serve God. My wife done retired, so now she can serve God even more so. You see, and so you're looking at two retired people who serving God to the fullest, and we rely on his blessings, and that's what and he has blessed us tremendously by us just being humble and doing what he would ask us to do.
Yeah.
Amen. That's so beautiful. Just the idea of living beneath our means so that we have to give those who are in need, so that we have to be able to serve when God calls us to serve. It's amazing. I think one of my major takeaways from what you said thus far is the power of faithful obedience. It may not look like what you want it to look like now, but in the end, faithful obedience is rewarded by God.
Yes.
That's so powerful. That is so incredibly powerful. All right, so the last question is, what advice do you have for single Christians desiring kingdom marriage?
You want to do that, Shelton Price?
I would say the thing is to pray. Ask God to bring you the person he wants you to have. We have to get out of that. Oh, I want the woman that looks like she has stepped out of the front page of the magazine. We have to get out of that. We have to get out of, I want the man who looked like he just stepped out of GQ magazine. We have to get out of that. We got to get past that. We have to allow God to put this person in your life. He may not have the looks that you are looking for. Like my wife said, okay, she's 6 feet tall. I'm 5'8". She first met me, she was probably like, who is this shorty trying to hit on me with his short
Assistant
self?
though.
with his short self. And all her relationships was tall men. And here come this short guy coming, walking up to her, talking about, we're gonna be married and you're gonna be a preacher's wife and all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, this little short man, but that's how we have to look at it. We have to allow God to place that person in your life. And I believe that when that happens, you will know. If you pray and you ask him to let you know, I believe some kind of way he's gonna let you know because of the way y'all gonna bond in the very beginning. Me and her bonded in the very beginning. Yeah, she tried to play me off a few times, wouldn't call me back and all this kind of stuff. But she finally called me back, and that's just the way it was. So, I would say that pray. Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush to try to find somebody. I think a lot of times we make the mistake because we want to be in a rush. Oh, I gotta have somebody because my friend got a boyfriend, or my friend got a girlfriend, or my friend got married. So I need to rush and hurry up. We should take our time. Continue to do what God has asked you to do. And if you do what he asks you to do, guess what? The time will go by, and then before you know it, in the process of you doing his work that he has for you, you'll come across that person and he'll let you know. And just like me and my wife, okay, 4 months, we got married. And 22 years later, 23, however many, we still together. So I would say, continue to do what God has you to do. Continue to pray and just let it happen in his time, not your time, in his time.
You said it all. I don't have to add nothing to that. Thank you, honey.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Amen. Amen. So I just want to again stamp some things for us that Brother Price said. He said, pray, don't rush, continue to do what God has asked you to do, and let it happen. That's so beautiful and so powerful. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I just want to invite everyone to just to visit our forums. It's not about numbers. It's just about motivating each other, because some of the things that we talk about, some of those things we may have been through, and we just trying to help each other out, being our brother and sisters keeper. A few people up here, a few of my guests is up here. Actually, I see a few, Adney, Archie, I can't see the other people, but a few people are up here, and Kimberly in the future. Thank you for agreeing to be in the future. But just, just support us, because we're going to continue to support each other, because we need to have more faith-based forums, Christian-based forums, to help each other get, just continue on this walk.
Amen.
Well, she said a mouthful. We have, like, as I said before, we stream on Facebook Live, Cross Creek COC, and also on Wednesday mornings, I do a 10-minute meditation. And that 10-minute meditation is just taking a scripture and just having it to speak to us about what we are going through, how we will let God just help us continue throughout the week. I believe that through the week, we have struggles. And sometimes we have to just take a time out to meditate on God's word, to let him speak to us, let him tell us that in our time of need, he's gonna be there. And I think every so often we need that reassurance that God is gonna be there for you no matter what. He was there for Job, he was there for Abraham, he was there for all those that we read about. What makes us think he's not going to be there for us? So on Wednesday mornings at 10 o'clock, 10-minute meditation, I just sit, read the scripture, and just help us to look at it. And it's almost like a boost. You know how they say on Wednesday is hump day? Well, the 10-minute meditation on Wednesday is like hump day to help you continue to get through the rest of the week.
Yeah. And I forgot to tip. I'm sorry, I forgot. Real Talk now is on the first, the fourth, third and the fourth Wednesday. And if you want to get the information, I have a page, Roz Real Talk Now, on Facebook and YouTube, same thing. And you can see the old videos. You can see the the information about the upcoming videos and or episodes, I should say. So or you can send me a friend request. Just send me a friend request on Facebook, Rosalind Green Price, and I will add you to everything.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for doing what you're doing and ministering in the pandemic with such consistency, and thinking about the people of God needing to be poured into, particularly during the pandemic. So thank you so much for that. All right, so this has been Brother and Sister Price, Rosalind Green Price and Brother Shelton Price, and you all have just blessed us so much. Is there anything else you want to say to us before we end today?
I'm sorry we talked so much we didn't get a chance for questions. I apologize, you all.
Yeah, well, just only thing I can say is keep the faith. Continue each and every day to increase your faith in God. Continue every day to pick a time, just like we do on a calendar. We take a calendar and we put all our events on the calendar. Even on our phones, we have a notification say, oh, appointment day is at, your appointment is at 2 o'clock. I would say, take that same calendar each and every day. Put a date, put a time on that day that you can stop whatever you're doing and just take that few minutes and just reflect on what God is doing for you to continue to have you to grow stronger in your faith. And that's it. That's all I have.
I don't know if you could, once we stop videoing, allow people offside the camera to ask questions. I don't want to take over your forum. I just want to give them a chance in case they did. But it's totally up to you, Miss Kimberly. I'm at your beck and call, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So thank you all so much for being with us today. And we believe that everyone who's heard your testimony is going to be blessed just to know how faithful God is. Thank
Yes.
you so much.